Here is the beginning of a long story about Tsipotas, a young man with cerebral palsy who overcomes his limitations through the teachings of Joe Dispenza. My name is Tsipotas, and from a young age, I knew my life was going to be different from those around me. I was born with cerebral palsy, a condition that affected my muscles and coordination, making it difficult for me to do many of the things that other kids took for granted. Growing up in a family of 3 boys, all of whom were active and athletic, I often felt like I was missing out on something essential. My brothers played sports, ran around, and roughhoused, while I watched from the sidelines, struggling to keep up. It wasn't that I didn't try. I exercised religiously, pushing my body to its limits in the hopes that one day I could join my brothers on the field. I did everything the doctors recommended: physical therapy, stretching, strength training, but no matter how hard I worked, my progress was slow. My body just didn't respond the way theirs did. It was as if I was trapped inside myself, unable to break free from the limitations that my condition imposed. The frustration was overwhelming at times. I would lie in bed at night, my muscles aching from the day's efforts, wondering if I would ever be able to live the life I wanted. I wanted to feel the exhilaration of running, the thrill of competition, the joy of moving without pain or restriction. But those desires felt like distant dreams, always just out of reach. Then, one day, everything changed. It was a rainy afternoon, and I was at home, flipping through channels on the television. I stumbled upon an interview with a man named Joe Dispenza. He was talking about the power of the mind, about how our thoughts and beliefs shape our reality. He spoke about people who had overcome incredible odds, who had healed themselves from seemingly incurable conditions simply by changing the way they thought. At first, I was skeptical. I had heard about positive thinking before, about the power of the mind, but I had never really believed it could apply to me. My condition was physical, something that was rooted in my body, not my mind. But as I listened to Joe Dispenza speak, something in his words resonated with me. He talked about the science behind his methods, about the brain's ability to rewire itself, about the body's capacity to heal. He mentioned meditation, visualization, and the importance of aligning your thoughts with your desired outcome. I decided to give it a try. I had nothing to lose. I ordered one of Joe Dispenza's books and began reading it that night. The more I read, the more intrigued I became. He spoke about the quantum field, about the potential that exists in every moment, about the possibility of creating a new reality through focused intention and belief. It was a completely different way of thinking, one that challenged everything I had been taught about my condition and my limitations. I started incorporating his teachings into my daily routine. Every morning, I would meditate, visualizing myself running, playing sports, and moving freely without pain or restriction. I would imagine my body healing, my muscles strengthening, my coordination improving. I focused on the feelings I wanted to experience: joy, freedom, strength, and I tried to embody those feelings as if they were already real. At first it felt strange. My mind would wander, and I would catch myself doubting whether any of this would actually work. But I kept at it, trusting in the process and in the possibility that my mind could indeed influence my body. Slowly, I began to notice small changes. I felt more energized, more optimistic. My body, though still limited, seemed to respond better to exercise. My muscles felt a little stronger, my movements a little more coordinated. Encouraged by these small improvements, I dove deeper into Joe Dispenza's work. I started practicing his meditations more regularly, immersing myself in the idea that I could create a new reality for myself. I began to believe, truly believe, that I could overcome the challenges that had defined my life for so long. I realized that the limitations I had accepted were not set in stone, they were a reflection of my past beliefs, and I had the power to change them. As the weeks went by, the changes became more noticeable. I was able to do exercises that had previously been impossible for me. My balance improved, and I found myself moving with more ease and confidence. I started to participate in more activities with my brothers, joining them in games that I had once only watched from the sidelines. The gap between us began to close, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I was truly a part of the team. The biggest breakthrough came one day when my brothers invited me to play soccer with them. It was something I had always wanted to do, but my condition had made it impossible. This time, though, I decided to give it a try. I had been practicing Joe Dispenza's techniques for several months, and I felt ready to push my limits. As I stepped onto the field, I took a deep breath and focused on the feeling of being strong, agile, and capable. The game started, and at first, I was hesitant, unsure of how my body would respond. But as the minutes passed, I found myself moving with a fluidity and coordination that I had never experienced before. My brothers were cheering me on, encouraging me, and for the first time, I felt like I belonged on the field with them. I wasn't just participating, I was playing, really playing, and it was the most incredible feeling. By the end of the game, I was exhausted but exhilarated. I had done it. I had played soccer with my brothers, something I had always dreamed of but never thought possible. It was a victory not just for my body, but for my mind and spirit as well. I realized then that I had truly begun to transform my reality, that the limits I had once accepted were no longer barriers, but challenges that I could overcome. As I continued to practice Joe Dispenza's methods, my progress only accelerated. My body grew stronger, my movements more fluid, and my confidence soared. I started to set new goals for myself, ones that I had never dared to dream of before. I wanted to run a marathon, to climb a mountain, to experience the thrill of physical accomplishment that I had always been denied. And I believed, with every fiber of my being, that I could achieve these goals. The journey was not without its setbacks. There were days when my condition would flare up, when the pain and stiffness would return, and I would feel discouraged. But each time, I would return to my meditations, to the belief that I was in control of my reality, and I would push through. I learned to see these setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities to strengthen my resolve and deepen my practice. One of the most significant moments came when I decided to run a 5K race. It was something I had always wanted to do, but had never thought possible. With the support of my family, I trained for weeks, using Joe Dispenza's techniques to visualize myself crossing the finish line, feeling strong and victorious. On the day of the race, I was nervous but determined. As I ran, I focused on the feeling of success, on the belief that I could do this, that I had already done this in my mind. When I crossed the finish line, I was overwhelmed with emotion. I had done it. I had accomplished something that had once seemed impossible. It wasn't just about the physical achievement, it was about the realization that I had the power to shape my reality, to overcome any challenge that came my way. As I reflect on my journey, I am filled with gratitude for the teachings of Joe Dispenza and the incredible transformation they have brought into my life. I am no longer defined by my condition, I am defined by my belief in myself, by my determination to live a life of freedom and fulfillment. I have learned that the mind is a powerful tool, one that can create or destroy, limit or liberate. and I have chosen to use it to create a reality that aligns with my highest potential. My story is not just about overcoming a physical condition, it is about the power of the human spirit, the ability to transcend limitations and create a life of purpose and joy. It is about the journey from doubt to belief, from fear to courage, from limitation to possibility. And it is a journey that I will continue for the rest of my life, knowing that the power to shape my reality lies within me.